Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 of the top altcoins available on Coinbase and seeing where the price action is at, because it does look like Bitcoin is finishing up another 20-ish% correction. We'll talk about that very soon. Right now, you can see that the crypto fear and greed index, we are up in greed right underneath extreme greed, which is 76 and higher. And we've also talked about this, how we've been in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, not just with Bitcoin, but with fear and greed. And now we are having higher lows and higher highs. So hopefully this isn't a fake out and we will be on our way back up. Alt season, it's still relatively early, so should we get another alt season like we did in early 21, late 2017, there's still a good amount of time to get into alts. Again, that's should we get another alt season. So we'll take a look at where there is value. But of course, don't just, this is my opinion, not financial advice, but don't just buy the altcoins with the most possible value in the charts. Not all altcoins are guaranteed to run up to former all-time highs or to go 5, 10 plus X when we do have an alt season. So do your research. I say that, but I also know sometimes altcoins with zero value or use will do a 50X. So that's crypto for you, but do your research and make sure that you really like and believe in whatever altcoins you are putting your hard-earned money into should you decide to invest. So right here on the Bitcoin rainbow chart, I do videos on the rainbow chart and Bitcoin crypto price action every week. You can see here we're still in the lower zones. We're in this fourth zone, the still cheap zone. So maybe we're getting ready to go back up and get into this yellow zone. Once we do get above the yellow zone, that's when you have to be aware and just be ready for alt season to happen at any minute, because once we get up here, and we'll talk about Bitcoin dominance and Tether dominance, once those roll over into the altcoins, then it's usually a good time to take profits. So going over to Bitcoin, you can see here that the price on the daily, sorry about that, on the daily, let's put this on auto so it looks cleaner. On the daily, you can see, just like the fear and greed, we're going back up. Bitcoin did get down to this 100-day moving average. We had a buy signal. We were stuck between the 50 and the 100, had a nice bounce off the 100, have had consecutive closes above the 50. So to me, that feels very promising as far as a reversal of trend. And I'm watching for this trend line level as well as a 1.09 extension on the fib. So that would be both those prices around 76, 77,000. I can see that being a barrier. I'll tell you why here in a minute. So taking a look at Bitcoin, something I've added to my fib. So we can take this fib. I'll just delete it real quick. But if you take your fib, some of you guys have requested to see how I draw those. I go from the prior high to the next low. Now, something to note, you see that negative 0.09 extension. This is a little extension I've added. A friend told me about this, and I thought it looked great. I've tested it out. Let me know what you guys think. But when I tested it and I looked at the last Bitcoin bottom, I don't know if a lot of you guys were around in crypto in this part, but if you were, a lot of people were thinking this was the bottom. The pi cycle indicator said it was the bottom. But if you add this on and you just go to the side here, and we go right from this point here, you can see that it mapped out that sell-off, that fake out perfectly. And what I think happened is that this truly was the bottom, but then we had a black swan event, the FTX collapse, the whole thing with Sam Bankman-Fried. We had that happen. And when you have a black swan event at the bottom, we got about that 9-10% correction, and then we've been going back up. So that's what we had happen back there. But now, knowing that we are going back up, we'll mark this as the true bottom. And so I marked from the prior high to the prior low, and this is what we got. So you can see how this trend line, which does come from these two Bitcoin peaks, I'm sure I could have drawn them better. Yeah, this peak where we got the 69K is a little bit above it. But it's just an interesting trend line, so I drew it. We'll see if this lines up, but it is interesting how it does line up with that 9% sort of fake out fib that I've added. So I am wondering if we're going to hit that, come down a little bit, and then go back through. We'll see, but just keep an eye on that 76 to 78,000 level as far as Bitcoin. I talked about alt season, a great way to watch this. Let's put it on the weekly. And if you click the 1 year, you can see 1 year and 1 day intervals, 5 years and 1 week intervals. So we're on the weekly right now. When Bitcoin has, or Bitcoin dominance, and that's the overall percentage of money that's in Bitcoin, so 56% roughly, when Bitcoin dominance tanks, and it'll do so in a span of like 2 weeks to 2 months, when it tanks, that's when alt season is on. So we'll see if we get a violent sell-off, or I should say a violent turnover from money that's in Bitcoin into altcoins if we get that again. But right now, Bitcoin dominance is slowly grinding up. I have these two trend lines drawn from where we were back in 2017. We hit that peak, and down here, and as well, there's a lot of price action back here, and we had that base. So I'm taking a look at this as my base case for where Bitcoin dominance needs to be before it tanks. Maybe it just touches this, goes down. Maybe it just needs to get above this, and anytime after, I'm going to be on high alert waiting for alt season. And again, that can happen very quickly if it is to happen like it did before. So yeah, we will see about that. And I also talked about the tether dominance. And let me take off, or let me hide the moving averages so it looks better. So when we look at the tether dominance, and again, it's the percentage of tether, of course, just like I talked about with Bitcoin dominance, there's this neat trend line here that has marked local tops. So it'll either mark areas that were a local top before it went down a bit, or it'll mark the exact top. And I'll put on the RSI as well. But going over to the rainbow chart, it marked this top here, the 2019 mid-cycle top. It marked the COVID top. It marked both of these tops. You can check the dates if you want. And so those tops, it's all near those trend lines. Something I will add that I will be watching is that when we add on the RSI and look at it on the weekly, when the RSI is below the 50, that's also when I'm on high alert. So you can see the RSI is curling back down, but when it's been under the 50 for a while, crazy things can happen. So I'm wondering if it's going to shoot up and we're going to get further away from alt season, or if we're getting ready to go back down even deeper. So just something to keep an eye on for that. Let's add on our buy-sell signal indicators. The two I use, this is more of a leading indicator, the 10-20 moving average crossover with Heikin-Ashi. The UT bot alerts is more of a confirming indicator. So I like using that one as well. Anyways, going over to altcoins, let's start off first with Ethereum. And let's make this look a little bit nicer. Ethereum, I know it's not turned green yet like a lot of other things have. You know, Bitcoin, we have on the weekly, we have our first buy signal that we've had in a while right here after having 5 red weeks. And we had our fifth, I want to say, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've had our fifth 20-ish% correction. So you can see, just doing a lazy measurement here, around 23%. We've had these low 20% corrections 5 times now. You can measure out the other ones if you don't believe me. But again, we've had those 20% corrections. Ethereum, it does look like with these wicks and being on the 20 moving average that it is getting ready to turn around and start going north again. You can see it probably just needs to get above this 50-day moving average in order to turn green on the weekly. So keep an eye on Ethereum. But right now, it does need to get above the 50. And if you ever take a look at Total 3, which is the market cap of altcoins outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, it looks a lot like the Ethereum chart. And that one is already above the 50. So that is a good thing for altcoins. Anyways, starting off with our first altcoin outside of Ethereum, let's take a look at Dogecoin. So Doge, you can see there's the dancing Doge. I love when that guy appears. Let's go over to the weekly first off. So kind of like Ethereum, you can see here that it's still very red. It's getting ready for a turnaround. It's had this weekly sell signal play out for about a month and a half. Let's put our fib on log because we're looking between the prior high and prior low. And you can see we have a couple things going on. We have this, I believe that's the 382. Yeah, the 382 fib line that it's resting on, as well as the 20 week moving average. So it does look like it's forming a base. It's a couple strong areas for it to have a good bounce off of when we go to the daily. You can also see that not only do we have this fib support line, but we have the 100-day moving average. And yeah, we have a higher low. Now we just need to see a higher high for Doge, but not a horrible level right now. And hopefully it's getting ready to go back up. And really this 0.5 level, that's going to be key here at around 19 cents. If it can stay above there consistently, not just for half a week, but consistently, that's going to be very bullish for Doge. Something to keep in mind. I've seen the predictions for Doge all over YouTube, people talking about $5 Doge, crazy things like that. Guys, you got to keep in mind market cap. So many YouTubers don't acknowledge market cap. They treat market cap like it's a myth, which is completely stupid. So when we're taking a look at Doge here, the way to look at possible price targets. Now, let me say this before we even get to the price targets. There is no guarantee that altcoins that ran during the last cycles are going to get past prior all-time highs. In 2021, I saw this with a lot of altcoins that were good in 2017. There were a bunch of altcoins that were great in 2017 that did not get above their all-time highs in 2021. Now, there are a bunch that did too, but do know it, just in case, if you've been accumulating down here, maybe take some profits around the 618-786 level, which you can see right here, 26 cents or 41 cents. Maybe just get your buy-in back and play with house money. Not financial advice, but something to consider. If we do consider market cap, when Doge was around the 74-cent level, Dogecoin had a market cap, I want to say is around 90 to 100 billion. And we can go to Dogecoin here on Coin Market Cap. Great site. And you can see right here we have a $22 billion market cap. And for any altcoin outside of Ethereum and Solana, Solana is maybe the only altcoin I could see realistically hitting around a 400 billion. Otherwise, conservatively, best case scenario, I'm thinking maybe 200 billion, maybe, because even the best altcoins were around 100 last time. So maybe 200 billion, that'll be best case scenario. That's still a little bit under a 10x. Now, if we take our fib and we look at price targets above where it could go, you take your fib off log and you can take a look at some of these numbers. So we talked about how this was around 90 to 100 billion. These would be, in my opinion, the two areas to watch for. The 1618 at $1.16 and the 2618 at $1.84 or $1.85. So even if we got to a $1.85, what you can do to calculate the market cap is you take that and you divide it by its current price. So you take $1.85 divided by 15. You can add as many of these as you want. And that would be around a 12x. And so you take that 12, whatever that number is, you take that 12x and you multiply it times the market cap. And here you can just round and say 22 billion. That would make Doge around $270 billion in market cap. So, I said 200 billion. Hey, maybe it gets near 3, but just something to consider. Anytime people are making predictions that put these altcoins outside of Solana may be 400, 500 billion. But if people are talking about these being worth trillions of dollars, guys, I think it's nonsense. And I also think that YouTubers say that because they see their viewers as exit liquidity. If people keep pumping money in at the top, guess who's getting rich? Not you. The other people pumping or trying to pump up and shill these altcoins, knowing it's never going to get to those prices. So I don't believe in $5 Doge or anything like that. I think we got to be realistic. And here are some possible price targets. And that's how you can find price targets, by the way. Draw a fib from the prior high to the next low, and then take your fib off log scale, and you can look at those levels on where it's going to get. So I'm going to go a little quicker through the next set of altcoins, but that's how you can look for it. Link. So Link, it was at some juicy prices recently. I think it even got down to the 13s. When we're looking between the last prior high and low, you want to have it on log scale. And you can see here with Link, yes, it got down to the 382 fib, stayed above it, also had the 100 moving average, and candle close wise, at least with the Heikin-Ashi, it was staying above the 50-week moving average. And Link, for the first time in a while, it has this very long-legged doji. Maybe it's getting ready for a big move up. And our first green buy signal in like 2 months. So, it's a good level. It was at this level before, and when it went up, maybe you thought, hey, I'm never going to get Link at a great price again. Right now, it's not the worst. If you believe in Link, that this can go to 200, 300, and again, consider market cap. It's at around 10 billion. So if it did a 10x at best, it'd be around 100 billion. Hey, maybe you like Link at this price. So I like the fib structure, how it has support, it has a buy signal, it has a few things going for it. So Link, to me, looks like it has a pretty juicy chart here for some value to, at the very least, dollar cost average in. Next, let's take a look at Avalanche AVAX, kind of like we saw with Ethereum. We can see here, we don't have a weekly buy signal yet, but guys, look at this price. Look how we're above the 50-week moving average. We also have this 0.5 fib support. So let's zoom in on the daily. I bet on the daily we have some green. And yeah, you can see here we do have green. Now on the daily, it needs to get above this 50 and 100-day moving average. And should it, I bet it'll turn green on the weekly and probably say, hey, it's go time, because right now we do have these higher lows, and now we need to get out of this wedge formation and get a higher high. So if we get above these moving averages as well as this wick here, you can just say 40, and then things will be looking bullish for AVAX again. But again, juicy level. We've been at these levels since December last year, so I don't think it's the worst time to get in. Next, let's go to SHIB real quick, and I'm sure it's going to look similar to the others. Yeah, SHIB just got above those moving averages, and still red on the weekly, but it's staying above the 0.5, and we have these higher lows, so we have these wedge patterns. Maybe SHIB's getting ready to blast off as well. We took a look at Link. Let's go to XRP. And XRP, guys, I've talked to you a lot about how XRP, the community for XRP is probably the worst when it comes to price predictions. People, you can just YouTube search this. People talk about 10,000 XRP, and it's a totally stupid prediction, because $10,000 XRP would make this worth $500 trillion. Microsoft is worth $3 trillion. Apple's worth $3 trillion. This is not going to become worth 5 times the global GDP unless very rich aliens all of a sudden invade Earth and use XRP as their monetary currency. So unless that happens, I'm calling BS on that. Anyways, with XRP, juicy level. All the XRP community hate aside, I do think if you like XRP and believe in it, it is at a juicy level. I've shown you how to take a look at the fibs to see possible price targets, so you can do that yourself on TradingView. But right now, it is at a juicy spot here. It's resting on the 200-week moving average. Guys, if this was a stock I really loved, I would be dollar cost averaging in here. I'm not saying XRP has to get back to former all-time highs, but if this was a stock I believed in, I would not be missing this area to dollar cost average in. So do your research. If you like XRP, this is not a bad level. Next, let's take a look at Solana. And I think I've charted this one before. Yep. And so Solana, I think this may be the best altcoin. It seems to be shaping up for that, at least on as I've been watching this on Coin Market Cap. And you can also take a look at the percentage of money in crypto. And Solana just seems to be growing the most as far as potential altcoins outside of Ethereum. We always know Ethereum is probably going to continue to be the number one altcoin, but past that, Solana seems to be the guy. And this is one where right now it's at 77 billion. If this one got to 400, maybe 3 to 500 billion, that would not surprise me. But yeah, Solana, that might be the altcoin this cycle. You can read up some of the news of what happened with that whole FTX collapse back in, what was that, November of 22. There were some concerning news about Solana back then. So, if you do research it, make sure you like it and that you believe in it as far as this cycle is concerned. So Solana, we have a weekly buy signal again, and it's above the 786. So Solana seems poised to get back above its prior all-time high at around 260, and then away we go. So if Solana, which is a 77 billion or 800 billion, you could say, what would that be? If at best case scenario, we can take a look at, 7 times 7 is 49, right? And so 800 times 7, 56, or 80 times 7, 56, that'd be around 560. So let's say this did around a 7x. Then you'd just be taking a look at, what's 7 times this number? So 7 times 100 is 700. 7 times 70, 49. So you'd be taking a look at 1100-ish Solana. I'll do one more fib extension here just to look and see if there are any fib extensions near 1,000 or 1,100 that pop up. And man, look at that right there, the 4236. I think this is the best possible case scenario at around 1077 as far as price targets. But if I were investing in Solana or looking to take profits from this during alt season, I would not miss taking profits at these lower levels. Guys, even if we hit these best case scenarios, make sure you have your sell orders in, because the prices don't stay up here for long if they do get there. So have your sell orders and maybe take certain percentages on the way up. Next, let's go over to Cardano. And Cardano, you can see here, kind of like XRP, it's looking a little bit like the XRP chart. Let's put this on auto so it looks better. It's at that 200-week moving average. It's staying above the 236. But now, we got a little bit of resistance here. But overall, the altcoin market, it tends to go the way Bitcoin goes. So if Bitcoin is going to push to like 80K or higher, then I would imagine things would start looking good for Cardano, XRP, a bunch of the altcoins. Yeah, no guarantees, but just something to keep an eye on. And you can see here, we are having higher lows. Right now, we do have a lower high, and this resistance on the daily from 50 cents to 52 cents. So if you really like Cardano, I don't think this is the worst time to dollar cost average in. I mean, you can think of it this way. Since last December, this is one of the best areas to dollar cost average in near those lows. Now, yes, it was a lot lower back here, and would have been great to get a 2x already. But if you do like Cardano and you're just looking at dollar cost averaging in, I don't think this is the worst area to get in. Let's go over to MATIC. And MATIC, kind of similar to Cardano. It's underneath these moving averages. We have the 10 and 20 here. Let's zoom out on the weekly. And yeah, it's hanging on the 200 week by a thread for MATIC. And that 200 week is kind of new. It's a little baby. It's pretty young still. So if MATIC, you can see higher lows here, can hang on, then it's possibly looking at a pretty decent value here for MATIC. One I'm adding to this list, Near Protocol. Its value's been going up. And all right, let's take a look at this guy. This chart looks pretty strong and good. So if you're in Near, I would feel better about this chart than I would Cardano or MATIC, just because of the strength of it. It's showing that there's money flowing into it, that people like this project. So when altcoins have charts that look this strong and consistently stay above the moving averages, once things are turning bullish, that's a good thing. You can see here a nice strong bounce off that 100-week moving average. So if you got near there, congratulations. And we have the 618 fib buy signal. It's looking to get to that 786 level. But yeah, this is looking, near's looking very strong. And this has just been steadily going up. So that 100-day moving average seems like a great area to buy in if you're watching near. And you can add in these moving averages yourself. So I put EMA, the 20, 50, 100, 200. I even, with these lines, I make sure that they're more visible. You can go into the chart and do that yourself, or go into the indicator, go to the settings right there, and you can mess with this stuff here to make them more visible and better for the eyes to see. So if you do like near and it gets to the 100-day moving average, seems to be a good spot to buy. Next, let's go to DOT. And DOT, you can see here just with how the fibs are drawn that I haven't looked at some of these in a little bit. So let's extend that out a little further. Try to get that as close as we can. DOT staying above the 236, more similar to Cardano and XRP. So right here, it's got the 236, it's got the 50-week moving average. So, if you like it, decent value. And it's been bouncing off that fib level, fighting the 200-day moving average as resistance. But look at here, higher lows, yes, lower highs. So we have this wedge flag pattern forming, might be getting ready to break out. And if it busts through this area of resistance from 7.3 to 7.6, I would imagine it'd be shooting up to this 10 level. But then it's got to stay above 10 consistently, unlike what it did back here. It's there for about a week and then went down. ICP, we're going to finish up with ICP and HBAR. And ICP, look at that. Guys, if you watch my last ICP video, we had these higher lows, lower highs. Look at this. We went underneath that trend line, and now we've come above this one where we were creating higher lows. And even if we move this out to the wick back here, that's looking bullish to me on ICP. So ICP, again, I look at it this way. We've had these prices ever since December of last year, and we're getting near half a year. So, we're still in the range of that. And if ICP is an altcoin you really like and believe in, that you've researched, then I got to say the chart is looking like we have decent value to dollar cost average in. And that's the way I look at chart, guys, whether prices go higher or lower. If I really believe in something, I have my areas that I target for dollar cost averaging. I do like to have these buy signals as well. And should the price get lower, I don't care. I don't get upset. I look at that as opportunities to get things at a discount. So I have my own budget set. I diversify in my own way, and I recommend you guys doing that too. But you can diversify and then scoop up the lower prices when it gets there. So if you liked ICP up here, then you need to love it when it's down here. And if you loved it when it's here, you should be over the moon when it gets down to the lower moving average and be picking up more. So that's the perspective. It's hard to time bottoms, okay? But if you dollar cost average in, set a budget, of course, only try to invest what you're able to afford, then that's a good way to go, in my opinion. And that's if crypto, has another 4-year cycle or alt season like it has before. I'm hoping, it'd suck if it didn't, but I'm hoping so, because if so, we're still getting good value on these. And then HBAR, Endura hash graph. All right, HBAR, let's zoom way out here. Make sure I did this fib okay. So you can see I took HBAR off log scale, but let's add it back on, at least with the fib. And man, what a wick this guy was not too long ago. Got up to 18, all the way back down to 11. So you can see here, the 200-week moving average, still relatively new, but we have the 382, we have the 200-week. This is a good area for HBAR to stay above to let us know that this thing is ready to turn bullish. So staying above the 382 from the macro high to low, this is a good place to be. And if you like HBAR, hopefully it's getting ready to blast off. I like that it's staying above here, and it has some nice supports at 200 and the 382. Let's zoom in on the daily. And yeah, there it's staying above. It got down to the 200-day moving average, wicked down to the 236. So if you're able to get any down here, congrats. That's a good spot. Came down to the 100. So HBAR, yeah, higher lows. Yes, we do have lower highs technically, but hopefully, you know, if Bitcoin starts to go up 80,000, I would imagine that we will see altcoins come back up. So, yeah, as far as when Bitcoin is going to have alt season, guys, there's no way to know. I've shown you a couple charts to look at with the Bitcoin dominance and Tether dominance. I'll leave the video here. Something to note, I have taken these, I've put in these white lines and these yellow lines, and what these signify on my chart is that the white line is the halving, and the yellow line is when Bitcoin first breaks above its prior all-time high. This was the first time that Bitcoin broke above its prior all-time high before the halving. But when you take the average of the halving to the eventual peak, or the break of the prior all-time high to the eventual peak, when you take those averages, we get this range right here between December of this year and August of next year. Now again, predictions doesn't mean it has to come true. A lot of YouTubers get obsessed with predictions. If we get a peak before this, that's totally fine. We have other ways to watch for it by looking at dominance on the Tether and Bitcoin charts. So that could happen. We have to be able to be flexible and reactive and not get obsessed with predictions. But this is one thing I'm curious to see if Bitcoin is going to top within this range. So this green line, this would be the average from the break of the new all-time high, which we had back here in March. So the average from that, it's around 300 days, puts us late December. But if you take the average from the halving to the next all-time highs, that puts us at August next year. And you can kind of see that reflected in these cycles. You know, you see here November 2013, we had the peak. December of 2017 was the peak for Bitcoin here. And the peak here was in November 21. However, this was alt season. That's what I remember from this time. You know, and alt season came a little bit after this peak, late December of 2017. What I remember on Coinbase was that alt season was in here, and this was the time to take profit. Yes, there were some altcoins that peaked back here, but from what I saw, most of them were going back here. So you never know. But again, we'll finish with this famous last words. If we do top in December, let's just conservatively look. We have these different bands. Let's take a look at the orange band, the third band down. That Bitcoin, you know, maybe it's going to be between 140 and 190K. August, if we, I guess it doesn't matter where in August we are, but I'm trying to be somewhere in the middle. Orange band. It'd be great if we peak later, because then you can see with the logarithmic chart goes up 174 to 224. I would love if Bitcoin peaked later, because then the overall value of alt season will be more. But guys, there's no promises. We don't know when it's going to peak. We just got to be able to react and take profits when it does, because as you can see with crypto, at least what it's done before hasn't stayed there forever. Maybe this time's different with all the ETFs and stuff. But my personal plan is I'm going to play it kind of similar-ish to what we had back here. You know, but be nimble for other possibilities too. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you all have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.